Hello everyone. This week's critical thinking video is on chemistry, cell and membrane transport. So let's look at the questions first. The first few questions are on chemistry. Here we are looking at atoms, and this is to do with organic chemistry. And then now we have questions on cell organelles, something about pressure, and something about mitosis. So let me go back and begin answering the questions. The first one is on hydrogen ion concentration, and it asks you whether the concentration will be higher when the pH number is lower. And the answer to this is true, because pH is dependent on hydrogen ion concentration. The higher the hydrogen ion concentration, the lower the numerical value of the pH, which means it makes it acidic. So you can see there is an opposite relationship. The lower the numerical value, the higher the hydrogen ion concentration. So you must be very careful when you answer these questions. The next one is on atom, and you should know definitions of mass number and atomic number. So here it's telling you that the mass number is 23, which is the sum of the protons and the neutrons. But then the question asks you how many electrons will it have. What you should know is that an atom is neutral. So if it has 11 protons, it will have 11 electrons, because electrons are negative, protons are positive, and that makes it electrically neutral. Now based on this, the question could be different. You may be given just something like a atom has 11 electrons, what would be in its atomic number? So then you know if it has 11 electrons, it has 11 protons, so the atomic number is 11. Or you could be given that the mass number is 23, it has 11 protons, how many neutrons does it have? And so you have to subtract that. So knowing definitions and what constitutes number and what constitutes mass number, you should be able to answer the questions. Here we have a question where it tells you that Alice went on a diet and starved herself. In order to provide energy, proteins were broken down. So broken down is the operative word here, and it asks you what kind of reaction is this. So this is a catabolic reaction. Anabolic reactions are where substances are made up or synthesized. So if I told you that amino acids were used up to make up proteins, then that is a synthesis reaction. It is not a substitution or an exchange reaction, because it doesn't tell you the exact formula, what is substituted or what is exchanged. So this is a clear and simple case of catabolic reaction that often occurs in the body. Now let's look at the questions under cell. So here it tells you that the cells in the body that have absorptive function, so that's one, secrete enzymes, that's the second one, and are metabolically very active are likely to have. And three modifications and cell organelles have been given here. So the first one refers to absorptive, the second one refers to the secretion of enzymes, and the third one refers to being metabolically active. Now let's look at the choices. Cilia are not meant for absorption, they are meant for movement. So you can immediately rule out this choice because the first one itself is wrong. Flagella again are not meant for absorption, they're again meant for movement, so that is wrong too. So you have a choice between these two. Microvilli are responsible for absorption. They increase the surface area for absorption. So this part is correct. Second, secrete enzymes. The word secrete means you have secretory vesicles being formed. So Golgi apparatus does that. So this one is correct too. And any cell which is metabolically active will have a lot of mitochondria. For example, muscle cells, in athletes who exercise a lot, they will have a lot of mitochondria. So all three are correct. But let's also look at the next part where the first one is right. Yes, microvilli. Microvilli are responsible for absorptive functions. Secrete enzymes. Enzymes are proteins. So if you thought, you could be thinking proteins or ribosomes are needed. So let's say we kind of say yes to this too. But metabolically active cells, metabolism has nothing to do with centrioles. Metabolism has to do with provision of energy, which is to do with mitochondria. These centrioles are seen in cells which divide, and all cells which divide will have centrioles. So it's not that any cell which divides more actively is going to have more centrioles or anything. So therefore, this choice is wrong, and this one is the correct choice, which is the second one. So this is how you're going to answer questions which have a variety of subparts to them. Let's look at the next one, where it tells you that Tanya's grandpa has varicose veins, and because of that, the varicose veins are swollen, and this results in swelling of the feet. And what is the possible reason for this? Now, the correct answer is the hydrostatic pressure is high in the veins, because varicose veins, where they are swollen, means, so if this is a normal vein, so let's look at, this is a normal vein, and this is a varicose vein. So you can see it's swollen and tortuous. It's going to have more blood in it than in a normal vein. Therefore, if there's more blood, that means there's more fluid. Hydrostatic means fluid pressure. So the hydrostatic pressure is high in these veins. When it is high, it's going to throw water out, and that water which is thrown out results in edema or swelling of the feet, because it goes into the extracellular tissue. Now, why is it not osmotic pressure? Osmotic pressure is dependent on solutes. So if there's an increase in solutes, the osmotic pressure increases. So if this is a normal vein, and again this is a this is a varicose vein, the number of solutes is not going to change in this. The solutes is going to be the same. So the osmotic pressure doesn't change. So therefore, this is not the correct answer. He is old and does not move about much. We don't know. He could be an active grandpa. We don't know how old he is. So this obviously is not true. Doesn't give us enough information. And then varicose veins, it is not necessary that they have ruptured. If they have ruptured, that would lead to bleeding, and hence this is not and not necessarily swelling of the feet. You would see blood in the extracellular tissue, but there's no indication in your question that there is bruising or anything. So this is not the true correct answer. So hence the correct answer is this one, which is the hydrostatic pressure is high in the veins. Let's go to the last one, where it says you would expect to see a lot of mitotic activity in which of the following areas. Now this is something which is mentioned in the narration, but even should you forget, start thinking logically where you would see a lot of mitotic activity. Now let's look at the gastrointestinal tract, the lining of the gastrointestinal tract, which is the epithelium. You eat every day, so the gastrointestinal tract is constantly exposed to the food, and there is friction, so there is erosion of the lining epithelium, so the epithelium will regenerate. So therefore, the gastrointestinal tract the lining epithelium has a high mitotic activity. Second, bone marrow. You know that red blood cells have a limited lifespan of 120 days, and bone marrow, and so do some of the other white cells. They have shorter lifespans, and platelets too. So bone marrow is highly active in order to keep producing the blood cells and throwing it back into circulation. Third, hair follicles. We all know that we lose a lot of hair every day, and but then we don't all go bald, because the hair follicles are highly mitotic. So when you lose a lot of hair, the follicles are producing hair which will replace the lost hair. So that also is an area which is highly mitotic. Muscle cells, these are not mitotic. You think you work out every day. The muscle cells, they don't sort of degenerate, and they don't regenerate. Otherwise, you would just keep increasing your muscle cells, and you would get bulkier and bulkier. Muscle cells do not divide, so they don't have high mitotic activity. In fact, muscle cells have very little mitotic activity. So these three have high mitotic activity. Hence, the correct answer therefore would be choice 5, which includes 1, 2, and 3. So this is how you have to answer some of the questions in cells and chemistry.